What's good, everyone? My name is Shimon Mitoro, and welcome to Friend Man. In today's video, we're going to be discussing two major topics, including the blockbuster trade that just happened a couple of days ago, Carson Wentz to the Colts, and we will also be discussing the Jazz early dominance to the NBA season. So, as many of you guys already know, Carson Wentz was just traded to the Indianapolis Colts in exchange for two draft picks, a 2021 third-round draft pick and a conditional 2022 second-round pick that can be a first-round pick if Carson Wentz plays the allotted amount of time required. Personally, when I saw this, I didn't think this was going to happen because I thought Colts have the number 21 pick. Maybe they take a quarterback, but with such a loaded quarterback spot, maybe someone like a Mac Jones or a Kyle Trask falls to them. But I just don't think they're too keen on Kyle Trask. And from my mock draft that I have created by myself, I don't have Mac Jones falling to them either. And I just don't think it's realistic for them to think that Mac Jones will fall to them. So I think it was a pretty decent trade. Maybe they could have gotten someone better. I don't know. I don't think Deshaun Watson would have wanted to go there. So there was no point in trying to tear apart all your draft capital to go after Deshaun Watson. I think Carson Wentz is a low-risk option for them, considering Carson Wentz this year. I feel like people act like he's not a really good quarterback. I personally do not like Carson Wentz. So I'm saying this from a pure statistical standpoint. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. Now, if you look at his stats, they're above average. I'd say not probably above average, but I'd say they're pretty good. I mean, he made the Pro Bowl in 2017 for a reason. In 2017, the year that he was sacked only 28 times, the least amount in his career. So when you protect him, he put up 60.2 completion percentage, 3,200 yards, 33 TDs to only 7 interceptions. That is phenomenal. I mean, despite what everyone says, that's a great year. And considering that the Colts just had Phillip Rivers this past year, who is, I'm not going to talk about Phillip Rivers in this video. Maybe we could talk about another video. But I think Phillip Rivers is a great quarterback. But when you're asking what you're asking of Phillip Rivers is too much. He's not one of the quarterbacks that's going to just drop back and just slice and dice a defense. Someone like an Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes. He's not like that. But the Colts offense is not like that. And I don't think the Colts offense should be like that. I feel like they needed a good quarterback in order to support their run game. Jonathan Taylor, that's a great young back right there. And I think Jonathan Taylor can take them to a good level with Marlon Mack and Nyheim Hines as backups. I don't know what the situation with Marlon Mack is going to be next year, considering Marlon Mack had an injury this year, career-ending injury, season-ending injury, and I don't know if he maybe takes over the starting role or if they just roll with Taylor and Hines and let Marlon Mack walk. But whatever the running back situation is, I just think that the running back situation in Indianapolis is going to be a really good one. I just think the running game overall is just going to be great, considering they do have a top 5 or 3 O-line in this league. I know with the retirement of Anthony Castanazzo, it's a little bit more complicated. I've heard reports that they might think about putting Quentin Nelson, their left guard, to left tackle. I don't know how that's going to work. I just think that switching from one-sided guard to a guard is probably easier than going from guard to tackle. Because I just think, that's just a whole different position. But, I mean, hey, Quentin Nelson is elite, and I think Quentin Nelson has what it takes to take that. But I don't feel that they should switch Quentin Nelson. I think maybe they should try and find a replacement in the draft, considering how loaded this draft is with tackles, specifically just tackles. You got left tackles. You got Penny Sewell, generational talent right there. You got Very Tucker. I think he could be – a lot of mock drafts have him going even before Sewell, which I don't agree with. You also got Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. You also got Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama. There's 4 solid tackles. I don't see 4 solid left tackles going in the draft before pick number 21, which is where the Colts pick. And I feel some mock drafts have the Colts selecting an edge rusher to back up Justin Houston, considering Justin Houston is a little bit older. I don't agree with that. I think maybe instead of focusing on the future, maybe you focus on the future in later rounds, but right now you're trying to win now. Your roster's good. You have a really good defense, top 5 defense, and you also have a good top 10 offense. I think they can win a Super Bowl. Maybe not this year. I don't believe they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they are a Super Bowl caliber team, a contending team, and I just think that one of their next pieces that they really needed was Carson Wentz, just a good, reliable quarterback. Let's also talk about the fact that the thing that really concerns me with Carson Wentz is his TD to interception ratio, which is a 2.26. And that's not the greatest, but if you really think about it, the amount of times he's been sacked and pressured behind that O-line this past couple of years has been pretty ridiculous. Like, it's just not good. And you can't expect your QB to be taking this much hits, this much pressures, and expect him to live a long career or even produce. So that's but being with that saying, Colts offense, I think that's going to be really good. I think that's on the watch out for next year. I think they could be potentially a top 10 offense in this league, maybe even top 8. But I think their defense is where that'll really make or break them. Their defense was 10th in points allowed, 2nd in rush yards per game behind only the Steelers, 8th in total yards allowed, and 6th in turnovers forced. I think the Colts have a good, young, hard-nosed, disciplined defense. DeForest Buckner was a great add from the 49ers. They got Javon Kinlaw. I don't really know how that's going to work out with the 49ers, but I guess that's their decision. DeForest Buckner is the heart and soul of that defense. And then you also got the Maniac on the other side. On their linebacking core, the man's flying all over the place. I think they really got what it's like. Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner, I think they got a good front seven. My only concerns is their secondary. Xavier Rhodes, great cornerback. He played at a really high level this year. Will they be able to retain him after this good of a year? I don't know. They should try and retain him, but if they can't, maybe you use that number 21 pick on a corner. I don't know if the corner class is that good enough for you to sacrifice a number 21 overall pick. Maybe you select later on in the draft. Maybe you try to get someone in the 2nd or 3rd round, because right now I don't think corner would be their most glaring need. I think right now their glaring needs are probably left tackle, and I would probably put edge rusher over that still, even though I don't believe they should draft an edge rusher. I think if they can solidify their front 5, it just makes their back end, their secondary, that much better. But that being said, Carson Wentz, I don't think he is a top 5 quarterback. I'm just going to say that at the bat. I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback, but I do believe in their defense. I think their defense can be a top 5 unit next year. They're going to be a powerhouse. Depends on how they draft, and if they can get back Xavier Rhodes, that might be good. Maybe they look into J.J. Watt. I don't think they'll get him, but maybe they look into that if they can. That's just another great ad. But I just think right now you got to get an edge rusher, a left tackle, maybe move Quentin to left tackle, but I just think putting him at guard would be more beneficial, leaving him at guard and drafting a left tackle, such as even Alex Leatherwood. Or you might have to draft either a corner or a safety, because your corners and safeties, they're good, but in order to win a Super Bowl, they got to be great. And that's been evident these past couple of Super Bowls. Chiefs corners, holding, penalties that just cost them, and you can't have that kind of stuff. So what do I think about this trade overall? I think maybe it's a B+. I think it's a great trade for them. They didn't give up much. They gave up 2 draft picks. They gave up a 3rd rounder, and a conditional 2nd rounder that can be a 1st rounder. And Philadelphia was really adamant on multiple 1st round picks, and for them to finesse the Eagles that hard, I think that's a win in their book. So because of that, I'm giving it a B+, but I can't quite give it an A, because we have not seen a Carson Wentz that can lead them to a Super Bowl yet. And if we can see that, I think this trade will be coming. Now that we've talked about the NFL, I'd like to get into the NBA. I know, we are 29 games into the season, but there were a handful of topics I could have talked about. Well, number one, the All-Star voting just came out for the starters, so there was some controversy there, but I'd maybe not address that now. I don't think that's as important. There was also some other things that I would like to address, like some early season contender struggles for specifically teams like the Mavericks. I think that they've been struggling really hard, and I'd really like to dive deep into that, but maybe that's enough for another video also. But the topic that I really wanted to talk about is the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz currently are the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, sitting at 24-5. The Lakers at 22-8 at the time of this video. They're at 8.82%, and they're 11-3 in their conference, 13-2 at home. What is going on? Well, I just think it's just a mix of offense and defense, to be honest. I think mainly offense. They're 4th in points scored, 4th in 3-point percentage, 1st in rebounds, 6th in block shots. But the one thing that I really want to get into is their 4th in 3-point percentage. Everyone knows the Jazz are a really good 3-point shooting team. Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, and various other shooters on their team, they're not afraid to let it fly. And I just think that's due to the coaching. And I think that's the way they're going to win. Keep shooting threes, keep driving into the lane, and keep getting that ball movement going. If they can get that ball movement going with that three-point shot of theirs, I think Jazz have a legitimate chance of getting to the Western Conference Finals. I don't think they can get past that. I don't even think that there's still like a high chance that they can get into it, because there are still teams like the Lakers and the Clippers who are bearing right behind them and not far behind. Lakers only 2.5 games behind, and the Clippers 3.5 also. But I do think that the Jazz early season dominance has been impressive, and I am not going to discredit that in any way. Their defense, on the other hand, has also been phenomenal. Third in points allowed, third in opponents' field goal percentage, fourth in opponents' three-point percentage, first in point differential with plus 9.6, second in turnover differential and 2.6 also. I think their defense, everyone's going to talk about the anchoring of Rudy Gobert, and I get that. Rudy Gobert is a multiple Defensive Player of the Year award, and I do like the way he plays on defense. I do not think that he is the greatest asset for them on offense because of the lack of shooting, and I do think when you switch him out onto the guard on the perimeter, that can be kind of a liability. But if you can keep Rudy Gobert in the paint, he ain't got problems. He's averaging 2.7 blocks per game. That's second behind Miles Turner in the NBA. He's also contesting multiple shots, and he alters multiple shots. So I do like Rudy Gobert in that aspect. Do I agree with them paying him $205 million over 5 years, more than Anthony Davis? I don't agree with that, but hey, each team has their own specific market. They're not comparing them to other players. They're just paying them the way they see the fit. And he's one of their biggest assets, so you have to pay him like one of your biggest assets. But two players that I really think are feeling this, number one, Jordan Clarkson. I don't think people talk about Jordan Clarkson enough. He is a sixth man of the year, for sure, in my opinion. The stats that he's averaging in 26.2 minutes per game. He's averaging 18.2 points, shooting 45.3% from the field, 38 from three, 4.1 rebounds, and 2.1 assists. That is phenomenal numbers off the bench. The Jazz, their depth it's there. But I just think Jordan Clarkson just makes their depth that much better. And the fact that they literally got him for Dante Exum at a second-round pick, I think that's a steal. I don't even think Dante Exum is on the Cavaliers roster at this moment. So I think that the Cavaliers really lost a good one in Jordan Clarkson. But, hey, he was behind LeBron for a good amount of his career. And he was always overshadowed. So, yeah, I think the Jazz is the perfect team for him because they really boost his potential. And also, Royce O'Neal. I don't think people talk about Royce O'Neal enough. Yeah, he's not a big name like Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, but he does the dirty work. He's out here guarding the other team's best player, and he's doing pretty good at it. I think right now, maybe he doesn't make the All-NBA team for defense, but I think he could be a serious contender for that. I don't think he wins Defensive Player of the Year, but I think that he should be in consideration for the secondary pool of people that you think about when you think Defensive Player of the Year. Because right now, on this list of defensive real plus minus, he's 16th in the league. There are also two Utah players ahead of him. Number one, Rudy Gobert. Another one of his teammates is number one in the league in defensive real plus minus. And a surprising one, Mike Conley at number 7. Mike Conley's over players such as Jay Crowder, Markieff Morris, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard. Other great perimeter defenders, and you got Mike Conley up there. I don't know the legitimacy of that. Maybe it's because if he has a small sample size, the other players are guarding more higher level players. He's probably guarding the secondary guard, I'm saying. But what I'm saying is Royce O'Neal and Rudy Gobert, they're anchoring that defense. If they can continue to play defense at all on this type of level, I think the Jazz can be really good. If they can continue to play defense on this level, because the Lakers are the number one defensive team in the league. If you cannot play defense against the Lakers or even the Nets, if you just happen to make it to the finals and the Nets are the number one seed in the East, the number one offensive team in the league, if you could bolster your defense and stop the Nets, they can't guard you on the other end. And that's when your offense kicks in. You're fourth in 3-point percentage. Keep shooting the threes. I think if the Jazz keep shooting the threes, keep playing good, hard-nosed defense, keep swinging the ball, keep playing together like they always do, that camaraderie is really good. I think the Jazz have potentially the chance to make it to the Western Conference Finals, even the championship. I don't think they get to the championship, in my opinion, but I think they have a strong case for it, and I don't think people should overshadow the Jazz. Thank you for watching, Fran Man. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and in the comment section, please tell me what topics you guys want me to talk about next. I'm always here for open suggestions, so See you next time. Brandman out.